Hold on to that. Here we go. All right.
Welcome to Transition into Death. You feel your eyes begin to get heavy. You fall deeper and deeper into a trance. Your body becomes weightless as your heart begins to slow down. Do not be afraid. You are at rest. You fall deeper and deeper. Your soul begins to separate from your body. You begin to feel the warmth of fire. This is the arrival to your final destination. Welcome to eternal damnation. You are now entering hell.
What is this place? What have I done? Condemn myself to eternal damnation. Claims my soul is no turning back. There's nowhere to go. Please save me. I don't belong here. I let a gun lie. This is tomorrow. And all these demons try to possess me. So hold my head down. Drop me in fire. You know you're never going home. Now you're trapped inside the depths of the unknown. It's the soul forsaken. They'll pull you down now into the fire until the flames get higher. Abandon all your own. Welcome to hell.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
I swear to God, that just fills me with just love every time I hear it. Ugh. We
It's
miss
like
Will.
comfort food.
It is. It really is like comfort food. And we'll
really
get into
is.
like that in a minute. But yes, good evening, everyone, on this wonderful Summerween Eve. Let's call it that.
Sure.
But yeah, let's just get right started. I've got my rum and coke right here. Our producer Rob. Rob, how you doing? What are you drinking? What are you doing? All that good stuff.
Well, I'm drinking a fabulous summer berry sparkling water because I'm bougie.
Yes,
Mr. Fancy over here.
I know.
That's right.
Pinky out, always pinky out. Hey, Matt, our wonderful sponsor.
Hello.
Matt's got a lot to share tonight. Y'all need to stay tuned. So, how are you doing? What are you drinking?
Well, I was having coffee, and now I'm just having a Coke because
You gotta keep the
bougie
caffeine
like
up.
that. That's right.
Yeah, he's busy on stuff. But we have a very special guest with us tonight. Those of you that have been into Spooky for a while, you know that one of the people we absolutely worship, let's be honest, the icon George Romero. Oh, he was, what was 2013 was his last appearance at Spooky. And I know some of you guys have stories, which we will absolutely get to. But his wife, Suzanne Romero, is here. So, yay.
Yay.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
Yeah.
Welcome.
So-
Hello.
Yes, and hi everybody in the chat, by the way. Hey, Clayton. So I think, because I'm a little starstruck here, to be honest, so I'm going to let our producer take over so I don't completely like embarrass myself with, awkward questions and stuff.
All right. Well, Suzanne, basically, one of the many reasons we've asked you here tonight, talk a little bit, or we wanted to ask a little bit about the George A. Romero Foundation, GARF. Looks like you guys do a lot of great work as far as preserving George's work and also kind of giving a handout to indie filmmakers out there. So just wanted, if you just give us the top floor, the mile high view about what goes on over there, and then I have
how it started, and yeah.
Wow, it's about 5 years old, so we're very young. But suddenly, I think we're actually becoming quite impactful, and I think people are really enjoying the fact that that we love George Romero and that we want to celebrate him and his work, that we want to preserve everything that he's ever done, but also keeping in mind what we want to do is honor horror honor independent filmmakers, being able to give them tangible help, money, legal, all the things that filmmakers need to do in a hard world, because George Romero found the business hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It is.
It's
It's a
hard
very
to
tough
make a
business.
living, and it's hard to be in control of your art, having sovereignty, which is where the independence comes from. Wanting to have control over your art. It's a simple statement, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
really tough to do, especially if you want to make a living.
Absolutely.
And also not get drawn to shiny objects. Uh,
Guilty.
it's a tough path. George sometimes, like he did Land of the Dead, big Universal,
Hmm.
big picture, 28 million. Next picture, 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom, 4. Because
Mhm.
that's his happy place. Everybody he knows on set, he gets to do everything that he would like to do. But the business plan is you got to have $4 million. Even $4 million is it's a substantial amount of money to raise.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Well, more
No,
So
than a
well,
drop in the bucket. Yeah.
on just on that note, we were at a show. I mean, I guess this is about 10 years ago, and maybe even longer than that. There's an actor, Fred Williamson. Fred did, all sorts of great films in the 70s. He was a kind of a blaxploitation icon for a while, but he did a lot of other mainstream
Yes.
movies as well. And he was just looking for $1 million to make what he wanted to make his last film, and just no one was interested in helping whatsoever. I mean, this is a guy who has a big name, a lot of fans, and it can't be understated in independent cinema how hard it is just to get everything you need, even if you have a name.
no,
Mhm.
it's difficult, and so ironically, when George was in 1960s, when he
Hmm.
was a young filmmaker, it was harder in those days to get equipment, the
Oh,
film.
geez.
Everything was so expensive.
Yeah.
Distribution easy, really,
Yeah.
because it was actually quite easy. It was getting the equipment and saving the money for the cameras and the lights and the film and all that stuff. Now, you you can make a movie on your phone.
Isn't it crazy how fast technology has just advanced in the past
So
few years?
yeah, so the
Yeah.
phone is your equipment, your computer is your post. You can do everything you need to do. Um,
And all right in your
Distribution,
hands.
on
Hmm.
the other hand, who
That's the
gets to
hard part.
see your film? Who gets to, is it the festivals? All the options, and it's almost impossible. It's so hard. And, you know, and of course, as always, the rule of thumb is if you're talented, the cream does come up, like
Sure.
it for sure. If you're talented, you get to work and you do get to make a living. But like in George's case, he would have liked to have not just been in a horror box.
Sure.
As a filmmaker, he would have liked to have done other projects,
Yeah.
monster movies or hero movies or rom-coms, or, like he had a
Never
variety
know,
of
rom-com.
interests.
Wow, that's a
Yeah,
thought.
no, he would have, because he had that in him. He had that in him. So as a writer, he could write anything, that he felt, really. And
Yeah.
yet, he'd write a drama or like I said, like he loved. I have to say, Mr. Romero really liked monsters.
Don't we all?
He
I think we've
really,
all got a
he
love affair
really,
with monsters at some point.
he loved, King Kong and Godzilla, and
Huge
he
Godzilla
just,
fan.
oh my
Mhm.
God, he just loved those monster movies, and he really liked the swashbucklers. Like he was really a boy, like he was like a boy for
A
sure.
giant man.
A giant
A giant
boy.
man child.
Exactly.
We all, I mean, let's face it, most of men are giant, boys anyway. So it's,
Yeah, no, he really was for sure. He loved he loved, he liked movies. He
Yeah.
watched film, watched all films. He was a cinephile for sure, but he really liked movies, like movies where you take the popcorn and you watch a movie. He
Yeah.
loved that.
so I would like to ask a question, and you've told this story before, but I think it kind of sets up a little bit, one of the reasons of why the foundation, in particular, kind of preserving his name and his legacy. What did George think about his legacy, towards the end? What was
Well,
his
it
thought?
wasn't good. It wasn't good, I have to say.
Really?
I actually, I think he actually died bitter, to be honest.
Oh,
Um, I think he did. I think he just felt exasperated by the business.
I
He
can
just
understand
did.
that.
He really did.
yeah.
And yet he was always grateful to have had a career. He was very grateful to have the fans, like he was very grateful. It's just that he couldn't understand why he couldn't get like a credit card, like just why can't I just make I don't even want to make $35 million movies.
Right.
Give me 4,
Yeah.
5
Yeah,
Let me go out and
tops.
guerrilla
Like,
style the whole
oh
thing
yeah,
like I used
guerrilla.
to.
I will
Yeah.
guerrilla. I will do everything we can do. Like I have like a 6 guys. We're good. we, we are
It's
good.
it's remarkable because I wasn't a film student, but I took a lot of film classes. All my friends were film students, and we saw Night of the Living Dead. That's like one of the first movies they were showing us. We saw Dawn. We saw so many of his films that are being showed and taught. They're used as examples for
Yeah.
students,
Mhm.
and it boggles my mind that more studio executives didn't go, hey, here's one of the most influential auteurs.
I know, but but it's not about that. It's about
No, it's
money.
not.
It's
It's all
about
about the money,
money,
and
and
it's
and
unfortunate.
horror at the time is second class.
Mhm. It was seen as a joke. Yeah.
It really is, and that's one of the reasons why the foundation. I am so passionate about elevating horror into what it deserves. I mean, I'm actually personally not a big connoisseur of horror, but I respect it. And I respect the fans. And I think it deserves, I mean, we're talking since the beginning of time,
Mhm.
the stories. No,
Mhm.
beginning of time, and horror is absolutely deserves everything. And now that we have George Romero's archive in a university. Whose doggy is that?
Those are mine.
Oh, yes. Oh, so cute.
They'll make an appearance in a little bit more
Oh,
than
so
likely.
cute.
They usually do.
A
Kind of the
cameo.
mascot.
Okay, a little. Well, I'm looking forward to meeting. No, it's just fascinating how horror has been with us as in humanity
Mhm.
forever. And now that the university has George's archive, and now we're growing the horror archive, and we're soliciting scholars from all over the world to come and study, and we're wanting to create a horror study center. I just think that getting the intellectual part of horror as a adjunct to the visceral that we all feel when we love
Absolutely.
a horror film, and our goosebumps and our heart
Yeah.
rate
Mhm.
and the actual physical experience we get.
That's exactly why we watch horror. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what also fascinates me personally is what scares a Norwegian, what scares an African,
Exactly. See,
what
woman
scares
after
a
my own heart.
Mexican, because their perceptions and their cultural influences
Mhm.
determine what scares them.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think horror channels that. And like I said, it's not only a physical experience that we all enjoy, but it's also an intellectual, stimulating
Very much so.
subject.
Absolutely. I mean, look at like Japanese horror films. They are completely different than anything else out there. And then you look
Completely
at things
different.
like, yeah. And then you look at films from like Guillermo del Toro,
Yeah.
where it's more of a fantasy and just art like
Yeah.
everywhere. It's beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
And that's the Mexican side of it, you know. It's crazy.
You know,
Yeah,
it
well-
really is. Yeah.
And Robin Dove in the chat just said, if some of the most visually beautiful films are horror, and that's very true.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. And Night of the Living Dead, which is sort of one of the sort of, well, classic and certainly seminal film,
Yes.
you know, happens because a young guy says, well, let's make the monsters our neighbors.
And that's something that
Instead of
hadn't
that
been done up to
hairy,
point. Yeah.
thing with the teeth, you know, he said,
Yeah.
let's just make it our neighbors
Mhm.
and see
You know
what
what?
happens.
Speaking of those neighbors, I do want to take just a minute to pay tribute to one of those neighbors. He's the guy behind Matt right now. Bill Heinzman. I mean, he's zombie number one. That's
Sure.
ultimately what he
Yeah.
is. He's the first real modern
Yeah,
zombie.
to be called, yeah, the zombie.
And Bill, you know, for those of you who've been to Spooky if you were there anywhere in the first, I guess, 6 or 7 years, Bill was like the patron saint of the show. He was there every single time. He would dress up in the zombie makeup, you know, at least one day a week. And God help you if you tried to party with him, because you weren't gonna match him. Bill was a machine.
You know, I'll tell you about the first time we actually saw Bill. It's like we were in one hotel, I forget, it was in South Florida, and we're like looking over in the atrium. We're watching the elevator go up and down. It's got to be 3 a.m. So you see Bill in full zombie makeup get on an elevator with a bottle of, I think, like Wild Turkey or something. And as he's going up and down, the fans are coming in. They're like, hey, hey. And he comes out and he's got like an entourage. And then still like 4 or 5 in the morning, he, you know, still in zombie makeup, goes out to have breakfast. And he's still at his table at 10 in the morning, ready to go.
Yeah.
Who
And
does that?
The Bill story I like to tell is in the early years of Spooky Empire, there was a cameraman from Australia, and I'm blanking on his name right now because he's been gone for so long.
It was Dave, but yeah.
Dave. Okay, so Dave is the Australian cameraman, and he was hanging out all night with the original actor who played Jason
And Friday the
and
13th.
Bill, and they were in a hot tub, and he basically, you know, and he said it's like Jason left, then I left, Bill was still going strong, and the next morning Dave looks like an actual zombie at this point. He's barely moving. Bill still going 100%. And again, Bill, I basically outdrank an Australian, which is pretty darn impressive.
Indeed.
You know, I just want to point out, Clayton George in the chat just said, George even tried to pull the name zombie away from the creatures. He called them ghouls.
No, he never called them zombies. Yeah. Never. So it was only after, people kept referring them to as zombies. He never referred. He definitely succumbed eventually.
Yeah, sure.
But he didn't think of them as zombies, just ghouls. The neighbor.
Flesh-eating ghouls.
At the end of the day, the neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that really is the scariest of all. You know, monsters in the closet, blah, blah, whatever. But when it's the unassuming neighbor, that's what keeps you up.
And also, the fact that you're touching upon death, and the undead, that's a human, it's really where religion sort of comes in to sort of justify death, to really, so that humans can actually sort of grasp death. And when you are irreverent, like you are, as George Romero is with Night of the Living Dead, that's scary.
Yeah.
Because it's black and white. he also did it as a documentary kind of
Mhm.
feel.
Yeah, it was just so pioneer for its time.
It was definitely
Oh,
pioneer.
I remember there's a particular paper I wrote or read. Excuse me, did not write this, but the author was talking about how he saw this, and at the same time, like this was one of the first movies where the good guy did not win. I mean,
Mhm.
he's the guy you think is going to make it through the end does not.
Well, but in Night, they kind of both are losing.
Mm-hmm.
That's like humanity is losing.
Yeah.
Everybody loses.
Everybody's kind of losing when that fire is crackling, and he just gets shot. Even it's like that overwhelming sense of holy shit, um, not so good.
Yeah.
And and all the monster movies and all the horror movies before sort of had that sort of
A nice
sort
happy
of very
ending. Everybody's
typical ending.
okay.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
everybody had, it was a typical ending, and we were all okay with the typical ending. And then he comes along and says,
Just really shakes everything up.
maybe not so much a good ending.
No, and it was real. Considering what was
Yes,
going on in the world then, absolutely, it was very real, and
it
it
was very
resonated
real.
with what was going
And
on with
even when you
society.
watch it today, even if you never have
Oh, it
seen
still
this,
resonates
no,
today.
no, it really kind of does, because the end, it's the best ending of a film, I think.
I'd say honestly one of the best endings of all time, to be
I would
honest.
agree. I would absolutely agree.
Yeah.
It's an incredible ending. It really is. You know, and there's a lot of films, and like I said, I only saw it after I met George, so it wasn't on my radar particularly, but I would watch it, and I do watch it because I have to on
Sure.
some occasions, and I watch it to even if I watched it 5 minutes ago, I would feel the same way.
Hmm. And that's that.
So
It is definitely one of those movies that you can rewatch again and again and again and still get something new every single time,
Well, I don't even know if it's new, but it's
or just a
you
different.
just get that feeling when that music
Sure.
comes in, and that you see it just a sense of doom, and like no other film has done. I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm not particularly a horror fan, and I did like I actually don't even like Dawn of the Dead. I know
It does take a certain kind of fan
it's
to
a
like. I'm
it's
not
a
a big fan of Dawn of the Dead either, so I understand.
okay, but it's quite blasphemous to say out
I
loud.
like Dawn.
You do. And listen, and everybody does. It's a big,
Not
huge.
everybody. I mean, but I get it.
Well,
I get it.
yeah. So when I saw it, I was like, yeah, yeah. Day, on the other hand, love Day of the Dead
Hmm.
for the almost same reason. Like the characters are very real, and it's just um, a really sort of creepy space. Dawn is kind of cheesy. Dawn is
Maybe that's
campy,
why I'm not.
and
Okay, that would make
it's
sense.
campy. It's fun.
Sure.
It's a little over the top. Eh, but it's the number one George Romero film.
Yeah. No,
Number one.
I'm surprised to hear that actually. I figured it
Everybody
would be
loves
Night, but
Dawn.
okay. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's Dawn. Absolutely. There's
So would you say
no doubt about it.
Night is your favorite? Would you say?
Yeah, I guess I would. I guess it's not that I would say it's my favorite. I think it's his strongest film.
That's fair.
Um, I can see why it's seminal, and I can see why it created a genre.
Yeah.
How does the one guy do that?
I'll tell you what,
Very
when he was
carefully.
at Spooky in
Jesus.
2013, it's everybody had such wonderful stories because this is a man that was definitely like Suzanne said, just passionate about what he was doing and passionate about horror and passionate
Yeah.
about just the filmmaking process.
And he loved the fans. I have to say, like he
Everyone
would sit
came away
there
from with
for
a
8
story.
hours nonstop. Like he would and every signature, every contact was personal, and he really spent the 3-4 minutes with that person, and yeah, no, it was a love fest.
Oh
It
yeah,
really
I'll tell
was.
you, he was supposed to have come one more time, and then I think either a project ran long, but he had another obligation that
Right.
he wasn't able to make it. So in a couple weeks ahead of time, and man, people wanted to riot. They were because everyone had such a good experience with him the last time,
Hmm.
and they wanted him back. But
Yeah.
that
Oh, he's
was
a good guy.
and yeah, he's a great guest. He's the kind of guest that you look forward to seeing, and
Hmm.
we should all be so lucky for our heroes to be like that.
Absolutely, that was definitely you want to meet your heroes. I mean, a lot of people told the iconic glasses, of course, and I think there was someone that went to Spooky, Brendan, I believe, that for pictures they exchanged glasses, which exchanging glasses with George Romero, head explode. That's outstanding. I'm just looking in the chat, and Clayton George just said, "I still think the 2-book short story series, Book of the Dead, has such a wealth of tales that could become wonderful movies of their own." Interesting.
I'm sorry, Dimension. Could you tell me again? Say that
Rob,
again.
you want to pin that there?
Yeah,
Um, I still
I'm
think
not.
that the 2-book
I
short
will admit I'm
story.
not familiar with this. We said I still think the 2-book short story series Book of the Dead has such a wealth of tales that they can become wonderful
I
movies
don't
on their
know.
own.
I don't know Book of the Dead.
No,
Huh.
not familiar
Am
either.
I? Should I know Book of the Dead?
I don't
I don't
know.
know it
So
either.
I think they're okay. Actually, I do have a question though, about something that's I know we spent a lot of time talking about George's first movie or first ghoul movie. We'll call whatever we want to call it, movie of the dead. Um, is there anything you can tell us about production on Twilight of the Dead?
Well, eh, it's going. I think we have producers, and we are shopping for a director, and
I'll do it.
I can't disclose anything else,
Okay.
but we're a go. We're
Okay.
we're excited. Um, it really is a fantastic script. Um, and obviously, we would love nothing more than have George Romero direct his last film.
Sure.
Of course.
Obviously, that's not going to happen. But so obviously the director is terribly important. So we kind of need that person to understand old school horror, old school Romero, old school, and
Mhm.
effects, special effects.
Absolutely, and that's
Not
one of the things
not
I wanted to get into. Is just
Yeah,
the groundbreaking, with Tom Savini.
sure.
Yeah, and
That's
just
what we want. Whether budgets can allow it, whether we're going to need to do some CGI. We're hoping to do less and less of that, obviously, because to me, it's
practical
about
effects.
homage to him. It's homage to the fans who love the films. Um, it's a great script. It's a great ending, and we're excited. We're hoping to do it right. Obviously, it's scary because
Oh yeah.
uh, it's scary because you want to make sure that there is no sense of exploitation. What
Yeah.
we're wanting to do is give the fans the last chapter in the most Romero way we can,
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
without it being grotesque, which is hard to do
Sure.
in this
There's a
world.
very fine line.
It really is,
Mhm.
and I am a gatekeeper, and I'm very um, guarded. Let's just
As
put
you
it
should
that
be. I mean,
way.
it only
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. So we're being very careful. We're being very judicious.
Oh,
It's all done with love and with respect to him and to the fans. Let's keep our fingers
yeah.
crossed
We
that it
we
works
have
out.
one vote. We have one vote in the chat for Damien Leone. He's
Okay.
Yeah.
director of the
Well,
Terrifier series.
Okay.
He's
yeah,
he
I was actually about to say, because Spooky Empire does do a horror film festival of its own, and will be doing so in October. So those of
Okay.
you filmmakers that are watching this, if
Yeah.
you love the legacy of Romero,
Throw
Now you
down.
know
Yeah,
what to do.
yeah, and here's the thing. Mm, I'm really kind of hoping for a female director
Ooh,
because I think that a female director would actually capture George Romero's sensibility in a
that's
way that a man may not necessarily get, because George actually was very feminine, and
very much so.
I don't even know how to say it in a. I'm
He
not
was
trying to be, but he
he
was
was
more
very
feminine,
progressive. Absolutely.
but he was more feminine than me.
Mhm.
Like no, but in a sense that I'm much more aggressive, much more assertive, competitive. I have more male qualities than George did. George was sensitive, like a listener. He had more female qualities. And I just think that even though a lot of people wouldn't know that, his films actually indicate that in every way.
Interesting. Well, that
Just
because I don't need another reason to rewatch, but
if you look at his films are actually quite delicate, and as opposed to, like, sure, he had good kills and good, zombie gore and stuff like that, but that's because he could go there. But really, his nuances, his social commentary, are quite feminine, and I just think a feminine director might capture uh, that.
well, it's really interesting that you say that because Matt and I were talking before the show, and there is the twins, I still say
Soska
Soska
sisters,
sisters,
yeah.
yeah, which I know I'm mispronouncing, and sorry, Jen, sorry, Sylvia, you know I love you, but but yeah, so Matt, I think you like said you knew something about like what they were doing actually.
Yeah, have they wrapped up on that one now
I think so.
on Festival?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
Festival of
so.
the Dead has wrapped.
Yeah.
yeah. Because I was following them through their Facebook, Instagram, whatever they were on,
Yeah.
and they were just showing different things like that. So I was like, maybe I guess you're waiting to see how that comes out before you maybe tap them for that, or
It's
or is this going to
sometimes
be something
it's
completely different?
sometimes with a movie, like with a film like this, you actually need a director that moves the needle.
Okay, that makes sense. I can see that.
It's just the reality of the world.
Yeah.
It's just, that's what it has to happen. And so we're shopping, and we have a lot of interested folks, and we're just having conversations and seeing how they feel about special effects, and
Sure.
just we're asking questions that hopefully will give us a clearer idea as to how his or her approach might be nice,
Yeah,
like
Well,
good.
and it's the last Romero movie. It's you get one chance to stick this landing.
Yeah,
yeah.
So it's
there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And it's frightening, and
Oh, I bet.
Okay. Yeah, and
we are
that's one of the things.
we're really being very careful.
Real
Yeah,
quick,
with the
I
Soska
want to
sisters. I mean, I know they're fans. They're
I
big
want to
fans of horror. But anyway,
I want to
Rob, go
also
ahead.
take a moment. Clyde has mentioned this a couple times. Apparently, his local drive-in, the Mahoning Valley Drive, is
Okay.
doing a double feature: Monkey Shines and
Yeah.
Dark Half.
Nice.
So,
Love that.
yeah. So, if you're happen to be in the area where the Mahoning Valley Drive-in is, go treat yourself.
If you're gonna do it properly. That's the way to do it.
Monkey
Absolutely.
Shines, so great. And Dark Half, again, of a film. George had a lot of trouble on that film. It was not an easy film for him.
Okay.
Not an
You know
easy
what?
film.
I tried watching that. I was too young to understand the movie.
Okay.
It's one of those. It's like I've always made it a point. It's like these are movies I probably saw before I had understood certain themes and certain stories, and I need to go back to it. I still want to watch it again. So
Yeah, it's a good movie for sure, but he had a tough time.
Oh, okay.
we do have a question for you. Do you still have George's Scottish scarf?
I don't. And you
Oh,
know
too
what? He threw it away. I didn't know it was this very famous Scottish
It
sword.
is. It's iconic.
I
Oh,
know, and I didn't know it when I saw him do it because I
oh,
would have stopped him, but he kind of threw a bunch of stuff away, and that was one of the stuff that he threw away.
oh.
Ah, boo.
That breaks my heart to hear
It
that.
does.
So
It's a, but
I
it
think
was almost like a, this is the old and I'm now in the new,
Sure.
and it was that kind of a situation. Even though I think that some of the old should have been preserved.
And he was a humble man, and he still, I mean, from everything that I've read and everything that I know, this is a man that like didn't realize that he was an icon, didn't realize he was a
No,
legend.
he always looked at. He was always a future. I'm
Yes.
looking at the future. Never really cared about. He'd say, "Jesus, they want to talk about Night of the Living Dead again." You know, 50 years ago. Like,
Mhm.
Jesus, he always future. What's my next job? What's my next gig? What's my next story? What's my next idea? What's the next? He
Mhm.
was never about the past.
Wow,
Never thought of it that way.
that's wild.
Never
Yeah.
really cared.
Less of a film related question, but I understood you guys did board games were kind of one of your things, and I
Yeah.
see a
Board
ton
games.
look at
in
them all
the
back there.
I see it all.
See, look at them.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We have tons. I have tons and
That's
tons.
What-
awesome.
Did he have
I
a
would
game
scream.
of
I
choice?
would go down. What do you want to play? Because he'd be downstairs. I'd be up here going, which one? And we decide. And here's another fun fact. When we traveled, we each had our personal bags, and we had a bag full of games.
We've got a friend like that. That everywhere he goes, he's got the duffel bag full of games. Yep.
We would stuff the games in there, and then we'd arrive. We'd settle in. I unpack. He'd open his suitcase. And we'd play games. Yeah,
Did
that's
he
what
have?
we did.
Was there a particular favorite?
Scrabble.
Scrabble.
We
Okay.
played
I could see that.
a million zillion Scrabble games.
All right,
He
so
also liked Monopoly.
Yeah,
He loved.
I'm
He
not
was like-
allowed to play Monopoly in my home.
No.
It's
He's an angry player.
I'm not an angry player. Everybody else gets angry when I play. That's
Yeah.
Okay, well, he wasn't angry, but he was greedy.
That's absolutely
he
wrong.
would like count his money and try to. He'd say, "Let's cut a deal." I go, "Why would I cut a deal?"
exactly what I say, and people get upset, and I don't understand.
No, he's the shit talker though. He's the one. He pokes. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I get
listen,
it.
I
I
can
absolutely get
totally relate because we played games. We played all the games from Battleship to Risk to every game
Good
we
deal.
played. Yeah.
We
So
have
I
another
think
question in the.
I got a question too.
Well, okay, let's.
But
let's
you go
let the
ahead
chat-
with this.
First.
Yeah, let's go with the chat. Now, this is an odd question. He even framed it so. This is from Dan. And are there any
Okay.
copies of a film called? And I can't. Whoa. Let's see if I can
Well,
pronounce this.
Joe.
Yeah. So there is a copy, a 18-minute copy of
Interesting.
the Florida group that shot Jacaranda Joe. It's very rough. It's it was student film. It's a rough situation, but we have it. And we have the script. We have the treatment, we have the script, and we also have this 19-minute film that was shot by students. It's I wouldn't say it's not good. It's just rough. I would just describe it as rough.
Okay. Well, apparently there is an interest, even if it's
Yeah, I
small,
know
there's
it
an
because
interest.
it's a great monster. It's a great monster script. Yeah.
And so, Matt, you were going to say something.
I think how did you guys meet?
So I was his bartender to his
Ah,
staying in my hotel doing post for Land of the Dead. And my ex-boyfriend was a stunt coordinator on the film. And he comes to my bar and says, "Hey, Suze, guess who's in the house?" And I know, it's Dennis Hopper. And it's it's John Leguizamo, and he was like, "Oh my God, no, bigger, bigger, bigger!" And I'm like, "Bigger than Dennis Hopper?" And he goes, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, George Romero," and I went, "Who?" He said,
I
"George
love it.
Romero." Yeah, and anyway, and then it tweaked that weird looking tall guy with the big glasses was George Romero. I went, "Oh my God, okay." And then so when I approached him and I said, my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend is working on your film, and then George said, "Oh well, hey, why don't you come and see my rough cut of Land of the Dead in my hotel room?" I was like, "Okay, well, hmm.
Smooth talker.
If I bring Matt with me, and oh my God, I'm going to be seeing a zombie movie and it's going to be horrible." And what am I going to say? I'm a Canadian. I'm polite. I'm going to be honest. And oh my God. And yet, I thought it wasn't bad. Actually, that was my critique when I saw it. I went, not that bad. And anyway, we reluctantly had a few more. I would not have called them dates because I was refusing to call them dates because they weren't dates. They were just, I don't know. I don't even know.
Hanging out.
No, I get it.
Hanging out,
There
just
are
to say.
parameters. There are.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
real quick-
I just thought he was the bee's knees.
Awesome.
I
love that
never
term.
looked. I never
really
looked
think we need
back.
to bring that term back. The
I
bee's
never-
knees needs to come back.
I
There you
never
go.
looked back. I met him and I never looked back.
When you know, you know.
Real quick,
And
I
I
just
had
wanted
never been married either.
Oh,
I'd never been married and I wasn't interested in being married, and I married the guy.
that's usually
It
how it
happens
works
sometimes.
out.
I just wanted
Dave
to touch one last time on the Joe. Apparently, we have a little bit more of a connection here. Dan apparently sculpted the feet for Joe, and Rick Gonzalez
Okay.
created the creature. So
Very cool.
Small
Yeah.
world.
No, that is very cool. So ask him if he was part of the school.
well, Dan, were you part of the school?
Yeah, except as the chat's going live right now.
Okay.
People commenting.
Were you part of the school?
All right, yeah, give him if there's a little bit of a lag.
Okay,
I think Dan's about 3 minutes behind, so
Okay.
we'll find out in a moment.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
you know-
I'm curious about, if I may interject for a moment, because I know Matt has a big project going on that he's working on, and I don't know if he can show it or talk about it or
I can.
with the, George
Okay.
Romero Foundation.
Shoot us down. Thank you, Matt. Oh,
I
all right.
mean,
Well, I actually
You got to give a little tease. You got to tease a little bit. You know how this works.
well, I can show you the piece of art that kind of started this whole thing before, because I really don't want to. It's too early to really throw out anything. I mean, I've got a sculpt sitting over here, but I don't know if I want to show it yet.
Okay.
real,
me see if
real
I-
quick, just to wrap
While
up.
you're
the
doing
Dan
that, I'm going to
story.
look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Give me a
Dan was
second.
not part of the school, but he was hired to work on the creature. So
Okay.
Oh,
neat.
Let me see.
that's really cool.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for chiming in, Dan. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Ask questions.
Well, you've been very generous with your time. I want to at least make sure I get one last question out. We are coming up on the anniversary of his passing,
Yeah.
just a couple weeks away. Is there any, everyone knows Dawn, everyone knows Night of the Living Dead, everyone knows the Dead movies.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything, maybe a more hidden gem that you think, if we want to, pay tribute, and watch a George Romero movie in the next few weeks to, just
Absolutely.
pay homage? Is there, maybe something a little more off the beaten path that you think we should maybe check out?
Wow, there's a few films that are off this beaten path, like Bruiser. Have you ever seen Bruiser?
No, I don't think I've
Oh,
even
I know
heard of
you
it, to be
ought
honest.
to. You definitely do need to see Bruiser.
Okay.
Because that's very interesting. And also, it was the first film he shot in Canada. So after Bruisers was the first film where he went, oh, there's this other country.
I can
And
get
I
out
can
of
make
Pennsylvania.
and I can make
get out of
movies there.
Florida.
Well, he did most of his movies. He did Day in
Yes.
Florida, some of
Mhm.
Day, mostly though in Pittsburgh. But Bruiser is an interesting film, and I to be honest, I think people should take a look at Survival. And I know it was really thought that it wasn't that it wasn't very good, but actually it's very good, and it's beautifully shot, and it also has a wonderful ending. So I would also suggest that people see Survival of the Dead again and have a look see, because I remember when Dawn came out, everybody loved Dawn, and then Day came out and everybody hated Day. Everybody hated Day. Oh, but it's not Dawn. And George said, I'm never going to make Dawn again.
Yeah.
Folks, I'm never making this movie again. I'm going to make another movie. I'm going to keep making different movies and hope you come along for the ride, because I'm not doing Dawn again.
Yeah. This is his journey, his story to tell.
Absolutely. And so I would suggest that either people see Bruiser, which a lot of
Bruiser
people,
or
I mean,
Survival.
10
Okay.
people saw Bruiser. It really wasn't very well
Apparently,
distributed.
we have someone in the chat that has said saw Bruiser, have it on DVD. Quite
Yeah.
loved it, honestly. The
Yeah.
blank mask killer really made me smile.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't be making you smile,
We've
but
got
that's
some-
another
yeah.
psychological thing.
We got some weirdos in the chat.
Yeah,
We love our weirdos.
of course, but I'm just saying, Bruiser, Survival would be the two films I would suggest.
All right. Good
Okay.
to
We
know.
also, Robbie just asked, what was George's favorite film?
There it is.
There
This
it
is.
is.
This
Well,
is the
tell the-
cutie
That's what started
thing.
it all.
Yeah,
Oh my
this is-
God. So when I saw this photograph, I just went, Jesus, this is so much fun. Even though, the glasses aren't quite right, but, it's so cute.
That is adorable.
I love it. And I said so to Matt. I think Matt's going to create some wonderful images. I'm just in love with this little character. It's so much fun.
That really feels like he captured George's
Absolutely.
his personality and just
The big
expression.
ears and
Mhm.
just I just everything is so cute. I loved it. Anyway, I fell in love with this character, and I think Matt is very talented, and I'm hopeful that we can use some of these images for the foundation and create a great buzz with George and some of these images. I just think it's super fun.
I love that
All right,
Clayton
well,
just said that huge forehead and wise
Matt,
eyes really works.
thank you. Oh my God, you're the best. Jesus.
All right, so I'm going to show it.
Oh,
Oh, look at that. How fun is that? Wow.
y'all exclusive. This is exclusive shit right here.
It really is terrific.
Oh my God, that's
So, Maddie, it's so cute. I just think it's amazing.
it really
This
is.
piece
That's
right here, obviously, is where the hole for the tiki mug is going to be.
Yeah,
So that's what
yeah.
This piece is
No,
for.
that's so
so
great.
y'all start saving your pennies for October.
Well, we've got the Bill Heinzman tiki mug.
Yes, we do.
So these are going to
Okay.
have to go. These are going to have to go side by side on
So
our shelf.
can I see this? Do you have
Yeah.
one accessible?
The Bill
Yeah,
one?
also-
I'll get it. Hold
Yeah.
on.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
go
I'd
ahead.
love to see it.
Well, we also have Robbie just asked in the chat, what was George's favorite film?
Oh, I would say Tales of Hoffman.
Ooh, okay.
I would say Richard the Third and Ben-Hur.
I can absolutely see that.
Yeah, those, George. So when I met George, a quick story. He, we'd be on dates and he'd say, "Hey, have you seen this film?" And I go, "No." Have you seen this film? And no. He go, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God! I'm dating someone who's completely deprived, like handicapped."
Now we had to
deprived.
indoctrinate you.
Oh my God. So then I went to the George A. Romero Film School. I spent 5 years watching films that George would recommend. So we'd get the TCM play and he'd orange, highlight all the films I had to see. It took me 5 years to graduate. I finally graduated, and I finally, I could, in a lineup, can tell Clark Gable from Spencer Tracy to, for
I want
sure.
to go to that school.
Oh, no, it was a good school. Oh, my God. What a good school. And then we'd see these films, and, he would just, it also, that's another thing, too, is that he changed the way I looked at films, because he saw films vis-a-vis craft. And I only looked at films as an entertainment,
Exactly.
I just entertain me. I'm not looking for anything but
I'm not looking any deeper than that. Mm-hmm.
And he looked at films differently, and then I started looking at the films differently. And anyway, I went to school, and I have to say I graduated. So
Good for you.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, so Rob, you've got that mug there, huh?
Oh my God, it's amazing. Oh my
Mhm.
God, it's amazing. Wow.
Do you remember
this'll-
what was it sculpted that?
Wow.
That was
That
David.
is amazing.
Shrunken Monkey.
Oh, that's it. That's a Shrunken Monkey. That's right.
Okay.
But
Wow.
yeah, that really
That-
captured Bill's zombie face.
That is awesome. Honestly, super awesome. And who did that?
That is
Something
another
called
mug
Shrunken Monkey.
maker.
Okay.
Yeah. That's before
Okay.
I got actually into doing what
Mug
I'm
making.
doing now. So, yeah.
Okay. Oh
Throwing
my
around
God.
mud.
No, but it is an incredibly difficult art form. I mean, to be
It
able to get
is.
dimensions
It
and expressions
is.
just right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see people drawing George, and some people get it and some people don't. I mean, they get the glasses and all that, but sometimes it's the essence,
Mhm. It's the
anyway.
little tiny details.
Yes,
Exactly.
I did not realize how limited that run was. Apparently, only 50 of those mugs were made.
Wow. So it's
It's definitely collector's item.
valuable, right? Collectible.
Well,
Very
it's
cool.
There's only gonna be-
invaluable to us. Yeah.
There's only going to be 150 of these. So
Okay.
All right.
Wow. Very
Yeah.
cool.
just lost
And then
one.
that will be ready in October, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yes,
All right,
it will
fair
be.
enough.
It will be for sure.
It's July.
It's
Well,
my
just I
mission.
want everybody to start digging in their couches and start putting the pennies aside.
Yeah.
'cause-
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And a good portion of its of each sale is going to actually go to Susan the Foundation. So it's
Yeah.
actually
So
going to help.
thank you for that, because we can, we're always begging, right? We always have the tin cup in our hands. So
Yeah.
so
Where do you
thank
see the
for that.
foundation going in the next few years?
Wow. I like I said, my hope is that I get to help filmmakers in a tangible way, not like, hey, I support you, like,
Thoughts and prayers.
yeah, thoughts and prayers, love you, but but tangible, like
Yes.
really sort of bankable help. That's my goal, and also to create that horror study center, super important to me. And
Wow.
so just to get an overall sense of horror and supporting the filmmakers who want to create horror and have people study it from abroad and from even our own country, or in US and in Canada. So lofty, certainly doable.
But it just
I
means you
think-
have goals. You have
Yeah,
goals.
yeah. We're small potatoes. We're going to be a big potato one day. I swear to you.
Little
Big
spud
potato.
into a big, yeah.
Small spud, big spud ahead, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback and responses. People love what we're doing, and we can't. Here's the thing too: is that you're not talking about cancer or hungry children, or any of those needs that all our society needs to help, elderly, all the very important places we need to put our money. But entertainment and having diversions in our lives is important as well.
Well, and it's also just supporting the arts, period, and supporting
and
artists.
supporting art. Exactly
Yeah.
right. And this is an art. I
Yeah,
know that a
it's
lot of
it's
people
that important. I mean,
disregard this as an art, but I disagree. I think this is an art, and I think it needs to be supported. And it's my little way of doing it. Listen, I can only be as successful as the surroundings that
mhm.
I am in, and I'm hoping that I'm not alone in feeling these things.
No, trust me, you're
And
not. You're definitely not.
and I'm hoping that with these feelings that I'm having, that we together as a community we can make this happen. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I can only quarterback it, and I can only do my best to make it happen. And I will continue to do so because I loved my husband and I loved his work.
We loved him too. Or still
Uh,
love him.
yeah,
Past tense, present tense.
I just feel like this community misses him,
Absolutely.
and I
Dear
think
God,
that,
yes.
and I'm here to maybe help, and maybe assuaging this hole. I remember when you know Fangoria and Bloody Disgusting, who have said to me, you know, we feel the hole,
Oh
and
yeah,
you are helping,
that's
you
exactly
know.
what I was actually going to say. Is just I think modern horror really there is a big hole missing because a lot of stuff has just been so cheap and so plastic and so soulless in the past few years, and we miss
Just
people
to
with
make money.
passion. Yeah,
And you
jump
had said,
scares and found
when we
footage and
were doing our pre chat before we came on, you had said, I can't remember the last time I saw a good horror film. You know,
it's true.
Jesus, that's
It is.
that's
It's sad.
sad.
It really is
It's very
finding a
sad.
needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's Halloween, like there are films out there, but
But
obviously you're
even good
feeling,
horror films are, at least 10, 15 years old. I mean, it's more the exception than the rule these days.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm hoping that I can maybe make a little bit of a dent. We'll see.
Yeah. And
We'll
Clayton
see.
George just said, Rue Morgue magazine should support the school if they can help out. Well, you know what? That actually begs a good question. It's like, where's the best place people can actually find out about the foundation online?
Well, we're at the George A. Romero Foundation.org. We're, just type his name. And if you type his name, we come up. And
They have a puppet too.
we have a
Oh,
we
no.
have a mascot named Archie, and he's very cute, I have to say. We love him, and I'm actually hoping Matt can maybe sort of animate him in
I'm
a.
working on it.
I know. Oh my God, I'm so
Matt's got a
excited.
special relationship with puppets.
Yeah. Oh my
He's got
God,
a
I'm
little
so
puppet
excited.
thing.
Oh my God. Oh, anyway, like I said, guys, all I can do is work. My team, everyone there is working they volunteer. It's all about passion. It's about a love of George Romero. It's a lot about the love of horror. We have a team of 34 people. We're working hard. Like, we are rocking it. And I'm very proud of the team, and and as we are going, we meet these incredible people. Like, I just met Matt, and I'm hoping that he's going to be part of the fabric of
I'm
our
gonna try.
world, and we're going to try to plug what he does into what our world is. And
Mhm.
I just think it's called community. It's symbiotic.
It's great to keep the torch going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And helping that 14-year-old kid who says, Jesus, I want to make a movie, and I want to
Mhm.
make a horror movie. And I want to be able to say, well, maybe I can help you.
See, this is part of the horror collective thing I always talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Horror
community thing.
collective.
That's what I call it.
Yeah. I love that horror collective. I love that
Yeah.
concept.
It's eventually our goal.
Yeah, it's everybody's goal, and everybody. And like I said, when when I went to conventions with George, I would see the community.
Mhm.
Like we go to Spooky, we go to all these different conventions, and there it is. Boom, the community right
Mhm.
there. You know, love it.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely. That being said, I'm curious, and this goes for everybody. You know, it doesn't have to be horror, but one of the things we usually ask is, "What are you watching?" I mean, currently. So, what are you watching?
Okay. Well,
Like I said, it doesn't have to be horror.
well, it's not horror. Just to say,
It could be Ben
uh,
Hur. You know, whatever.
I actually
We
just
don't
She's
judge.
last.
watching Gilmore
So
Girls.
I'm a big sports fan. So
Oh.
I'm a big Blue Jays fan. So I'm watching my Blue Jays. Wimbledon is starting crack of 6 tomorrow
Oh
morning.
wow! When's the
I
last
will
time I went
be
to
up
Wimbledon?
and watching it. I play tennis 4 times a week, so I'm a big tennis fan. And no, I enjoy my sports. So I
I'm more
watch
and more impressed by
sports.
the minute.
Yeah, I love sports. George will like to watch sports too. We watched our tennis and we like baseball, and I actually got him to watch curling. And everybody's all his American
It
friends
would
said,
take me a few
"What have
beers
you
before.
done? What have you done to George Romero?" Well, I'm like, I didn't do anything. We watched the Olympics, and suddenly he was like, "I love this curling." I'm like, "You do?" He goes, "I love it." So then we started watching curling. I wasn't even like I'm like, okay, I think I might like curling too. And so we watched curl. He loved curling.
That's crazy. I've
Okay.
never heard that statement come out of anybody's mouth.
Exactly. No, his producer, all his friends who've known him for 40, 50 years are like, what have you done to him? I'm like, I swear to God, I didn't do a thing. I swear. But he loved it. He loved Downton Abbey.
I could see that.
A lot of people love
Okay.
Yeah,
Downton
I,
Abbey.
I could definitely. He's definitely
So
the demographic.
we're in bed, we have a TV, and then he'd say, another one? I go, okay, sure. Another one? We'd like binge,
Binging
but
Downtown Abbey.
it wasn't me. It was him.
It was him.
He was like totally like, I want to binge this. I love this. So
That's funny.
it is funny because like he liked things that most people you just wouldn't think that he would like Downton Abbey and curling.
Yeah.
But he did.
But that's the image I
Interesting.
like, though. It's like, okay, monsters and zombies and all that.
Yeah.
That's all well and good, and I love
Yeah.
it. But I prefer George just hanging back, eating whatever comfort food and watching curling. I like that.
And here's my last story because I do think I need to go. But so on his 76th birthday, I said to him, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" And he said, I don't want to go out. No big fuss. Who cares? I said, well, okay. Do you want to just have like a dinner party? What do you want to do? I don't want anything. So I said, okay, well, what do you want to eat for dinner? And he said, well, I want to eat Spam and caviar. Who asks for that?
You know who asked for that? Serial killers on death row for their last
Okay.
meal. That's who asked for that.
No, and they could not get caviar because you know what?
Yeah.
Death row, your last meal,
Mhm.
$50 tops.
Yep.
That's it. So anything, it's not like you could ask for caviar because you'd never
Sure.
get it because your budget is 50 all in.
Yes.
So he asks for Spam, which is absolutely disgusting. And he asks for caviar, which is not disgusting, but very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a can of Spam, and then I went out and got myself a little can of caviar for $400. Because that's what it costs. It's
That's
like
what he
this
wants.
little bit.
It's his birthday.
And
Yeah.
it's his birthday. And I got him the little crackers and the little, the sour, the accoutrement. caviar.
I love that word.
And so that's what he had for his birthday: spam and caviar. That was George Romero in a nutshell.
Yeah. Enter Monty Python joke here. Yeah.
He was high end, low end. He was just that guy. He just went from boom to boom, and comfortable in both places.
Yeah. George Clayton George just said, "Heck, I remember one of the Dawn zombies wearing a curling league sweater." I was like, "Oh,
Okay,
that was a nice little okay."
yeah, that
Apparently,
is
it was
something.
always there. The love of curling was there for decades.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, unbeknownst to any of his friends who have known him his whole life, didn't know he liked curling, but
That's
he
pretty
did.
cool. That's a good trivia question, actually.
100%.
All right,
This is
well,
Hooper.
Thank you.
Oh, there you are, mister. Oh, he's very cute.
You want to say hi?
We
real
really
quick?
appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah,
and chatting with us
absolutely.
Oh,
about
listen,
the
it was my
foundation.
absolute pleasure. And like I said, if anybody wants to know what we're doing, just go to our website and check us out. And I had a lot of fun. And like I said, Matt is a super talented guy. I'm so happy to have met him
We're proud to have
virtually,
him as a
obviously.
sponsor.
Yeah, no, and you two are so lovely. Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you. I got called lovely. Yay.
Yeah, you
Oh, my
are.
night's
You're
been late.
lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Suze, for
again.
coming aboard.
All right. So have a good time, guys.
Thank
Okay.
you.
See you soon. I'll talk to
Okay.
you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Okay, so
Bye.
Rob,
Bye.
what are you watching?
Okay, Matt. I was just going to say thank her profusely later
I
for us
will.
if you could.
I
Yeah,
absolutely will.
no,
She's amazing.
I'm
She was
still a
delightful.
little starstruck here.
Yeah, she was delightful.
Yeah.
I'm not watching a damn thing right now. I gotta be honest. It's fun. She was saying you're gonna hate what I'm watching. I am playing The Evil Within 2.
Oh,
It's the original one was better. The original Evil Within basically is the video game version of The Cell. You are literally in the mind of a serial killer.
oh
Ooh.
shit!
And
All right, you got me on
crazy-
board.
Crazy crap happens, and so this is you're not in the mind of a serial killer, but you're in somebody else's mind, and a serial killer just happened to have joined.
Exactly, Matt.
So it's a good game. It's a fun game. I love the series. I actually meant to play the original, but apparently my original copy now is kind of broken or scratched because it kept freezing up and it won't play. So
It's a good reminder for
Is that
people who
only
get
on
out
PlayStation?
Twitch, you know?
No, I think it's on PC as well. It's a Bethesda game.
But not Xbox. Not Xbox.
No, it's on Xbox.
Oh, okay. Then I will look for it then. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, Allison. Allison, go back and watch the full episode later.
No, everything that you think she would be. Fantastic.
She was great. She was a lot of fun.
So fangirling just so hard. But yeah, that is a good reminder to go watch our Twitch, because occasionally you will see Rob or whoever else, playing games on Twitch.
I don't scream out loud playing this one because I know what the scores are.
It is fun watching him get scared.
Basically, what I will say is this: the original one is like 70% or 75% horror, 25% sci-fi. This is about 75% sci-fi, 25% horror. Because you kind of like the first one, you don't know what the hell's going on. It's just nonstop batshit crazy. And then the second one, you understand the scenario, but the shit's still happening. So
I have to look that up.
I recommend the games. I enjoy.
All right. Well, Matt, what about you? What are you watching?
We just watched Pope's Exorcist, which was meh.
That's our new term just for horror.
Meh.
Meh.
He was so
What did
Father
Sue just
Sarducci. The accent was
I have to watch it now.
Oh, no, he was great. I mean, it's Russell Crowe. He's always awesome.
Yeah.
He was better in what was that movie where he loses it?
Thor.
No, not Thor. But
He was in Thor: Blood or
Unhinged.
Love it.
Unhinged. Unhinged was a great movie. You want to see a fucked up movie? Watch Unhinged.
I am all about the fucked up movie.
It's
Okay.
it's like what was the Michael Douglas
The Game?
around the baseball bat?
Falling
Falling down
Yes.
on crack.
Falling down. All right.
Basically, it was
okay,
really,
I know
really
what I'm
good.
watching tonight.
What other movie did we watch besides Pope's Exorcist? Oh, we watched the new
Gilmore
Candyman
Girls.
finally.
That's funny. We actually just were joking about that, Allison. We were talking about, Gilmore Girls.
We watched the new Candyman, which I actually quite enjoyed. I thought it was a really good
Really?
Jordan Peele, the way he did it. I mean, he
I've heard
produced it.
very
He didn't do
mixed
anything,
things
but
about it.
Yeah, I did too.
Very
So I was
mixed
like,
things.
they just brought it into the future to make it all. It's a sequel, so it's not
Okay.
a reboot. It's not a remake. It's a sequel, and
okay,
it kind of gets rid of. It's a sequel to the first movie. Gets rid of the other two.
got it. Okay. That's
So
actually a pretty good
it's worth a watch. It's worth a watch. I actually enjoyed that one.
Yeah, Falling Down is a fantastic movie. The burger joint. Yep. The burger joint attack. Absolutely. And before I even get into what I'm watching, you know what? Let's get into spooky news. Just go over it quickly because they have actually announced a number of people, and the 20th anniversary is. Really
I'm gonna run through this. Just kind of funny. Just one last note. We thought we were gonna have Suzanne for about 20 minutes, and she gave us a full hour,
How
which was
could we
great.
not? Yeah, just sit and love her stories.
All right. So anyway, we're going to go through this. The first new guest, because Spooky has really started throwing down, and after kind of Mayhem was a little lackluster. I don't think anyone will disagree with that.
Yeah.
They're doing proper credit for the 20th anniversary. So number one, we have, and I will always refer to him this way, the impossibly handsome Harry Hamlin.
He's going to sign my boobo.
Yes.
If you guys are watching
Hamlin,
Mayfair Witches, if you're watching Mayfair Witches, he was on LA Law. Obviously
Clash of the Titans is the big thing.
Iconic.
Also on Shameless.
Mm-hmm. That's right. He was on Shameless. I forgot he was on Shameless. Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm super excited about Harry Hamlin. The guy's a fucking icon. And then, then of course, because this will make all the guys very, very happy. That's Jenna Jameson.
Jenna Jameson, who you might have seen in Zombie Strippers. You might have seen her on Sons of Anarchy. You might have unlocked her secret character in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. But the reality is you probably saw her in porn.
Yep.
So, she, in all fairness, Jenna was the biggest porn star of the 90s. So,
and she was definitely one of the few that successfully mainstreamed. So,
well,
all things considered. Anyway, we can argue about that. Whatever.
And you can say congratulations on your marriage. She just got married for the third time, I think.
And just Clayton just said he's going to sign my boobo. You just won the internet. Yeah, because it's my boobo. Maybe.
All right. So then we have the Chiodo brothers.
Yes, for those of you that are fans of Killer Clowns.
And these guys have been, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That's their iconic work. But they have done Creatures for Critters, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, folks. The little film you may have heard of.
Yeah, the dinosaur animation.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of stuff there. And then most recently, and I may butcher this.
Large Marge sent you.
You know what? Someone needs to do a Large Marge costume for October.
Jimmy from Trauma did it.
Did
yeah? Because there's actually a picture of me going to make out with Large Marge, and it's hilarious.
Tell him to do it again. And then last earlier this week, Greg Nicotero.
Mm-hmm.
Another.
I was gonna say, I bet Matt's excited about that one.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say I was gonna ask her if they had tapped to him to direct, but then she said she wanted to find a female, so that's all fine and good. But Greg is the guy.
Oh yeah,
especially if they want to go with practical effects and everything, because that's the way to do it. Him and Rick Baker, they should team up.
Oh, absolutely.
And Tom Savini. Just get K&B and all the whole crew together to do Romero's last thing the right way.
That's true.
That's real quick, true. Clayton just won the internet with this comment.
This is why we love our fans.
There we go.
But yeah, so I mean, they're actually throwing out, really great guests, especially ones that have never been before, and while Robert Englund is fantastic and Doug Bradley is fantastic, and we got nothing wrong with that. Those of us that have been around about 15 years or so, we've seen them and met them, and that's great and that's wonderful. But that's why it's like, okay, Harry Hamlin, Jenna Jameson, this is fucking fantastic. I'm super excited to see who they come up with next. All right,
calling it now.
Sure. Let's go with that. And to bring things down just slightly, and not even really bring things down.
It wasn't a down thing. So it was actually very, very uplifting, very nice event.
Which is honestly, I think we all should hope to be so lucky to go that way. I mean, you want to talk about spooky family. There was nothing but spooky family love at Dina's celebration of life. The way that they did everything was really fantastic. I mean, displaying the artwork she had bought, and letting it go on to the next person. There was a room that was decorated with her Halloween stuff. There was another room where you could take something small of hers home with you, and there was just nothing but good energy and just love, and none of the sadness or moroseness that are with typical wakes and funerals. But we're spooky. We don't do things that way. So, I mean, I think she really set the bar for the way a number of us would like to be remembered when we go.
Yeah, and it was like I said, it was really, everyone was. I mean, people were definitely sad that she was gone, but it was as uplifting of an experience as you can get, and they even kind of pointed at it. It's like, look, Dina brought together people from Spooky Empire, from
Fringe
Fest, from a few other events, and all these people from different areas are now under one roof, and it was cool. So.
And she would have been proud. She would have been proud.
No, I think it's, and I've said before, I didn't know Dina terribly well, but she helped out my family when we needed it, and that was awesome. And that was her character right there. And so she always won points for me as far as like, okay, this is who you are. You're awesome.
Yeah.
But it's like, she has been doing that, or was doing that, for a lot of people, clearly.
Oh yeah. So, everybody had stories. Everyone had stories. And it was really great just for all of us to get together and share those stories with each other. I mean, she would have been proud. Everyone's wearing their tutus, and it was really awesome. And I'm sure there's going to be something in October, for her, which will be just as awesome.
In more downer news, we had a death of the extended Spooky family. Demi, you wanna take this, or
this is tough. They only attended Spooky a couple of times, but those of you from the whole Jacksonville area, you might have remembered Joe Dougherty. He was an artist. He very often did sketches of horror characters or comic characters or whatever. They'd been to Spooky a couple of times, like I said, and Jax is a very small community. Unfortunately, it was one of those situations where he just went to bed and never woke up, which is. Really, we should all be so lucky, but he was only 50, and he left behind an absolutely devastated wife and a lot of very shocked friends. Rob, can you take this? Because
So again, it just happened. Like I said, no, there was no warning. It just happened.
I'm tired of friends dying, man.
Tuesday morning. He went to bed Monday night, did not wake up Tuesday morning, and that's how fast.
No warning, no nothing.
So his wife
reminds you that we're not promised tomorrow. Keep that in mind. But
anyway, his wife is trying to manage some funeral expenses. This really did come out of nowhere. So people have helped in the past. We're just gonna push it a little bit, but. In the chat, I've put the link to their GoFundMe, and we'll post it on the page.
And just
later.
Every little bit helps, even it's $5, whatever. Forego that Starbucks coffee and help out a grieving widow.
So and again, just my next request is whether or not you can donate to this. My only thing I would ask of you is please don't die. No one else dies this year.
We're done with this. I don't know what the fuck happened this time. I don't know what goat we have to sacrifice, but dude, I'm done with this.
Yeah,
I think we all are.
It's been a bizarre. The last 6 months have just been like the hell.
I can't. Yep.
So
Matt,
we're getting older, but we're not that old, folks.
No, we're really not. I expected this in another 20 years.
Okay, so everybody, your assignment: eat bran tonight. Go jogging.
No, fuck that. Eat your cake, eat your donuts, and enjoy your fucking
I'm
food.
with Matt. Yes. Like I said, you're not promised tomorrow. So, fuck the brand.
Moderation, my friend, moderation.
Really,
you want a donut with your KFC? Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. The last thing that we did want to bring up, though, was the Oddities and Curiosities Expo, which was a major fucking success for
Yeah,
Prometheus
holy
America.
crap on a cracker, folks. If
Wow, you want to talk
odds
about
are,
blew up.
yeah, Robbie was able to vend, a lot of other spooky vendors, Vamps, she
And
brought out
Jen
Vamps
and
Emporium.
Vaughn and yeah.
Jen and Vaughn were there. Spooky Cat. They were,
That was there. Britt Lyle was there.
yeah. I mean, it's a lot of
Murder on
familiar
Main.
faces, and apparently everyone made money. There were over 6,000, people who showed up for this. It's a 1-day event, and it was just, they're
Probably not
just,
anymore.
What was
Guarantee
that?
next year will be 2 days.
Yeah,
I don't think he's going to go 2. I think
No.
I think they're going to just keep it as a 1-day to keep that you can't miss this. You got one shot.
Yeah,
All right,
everybody
Adam,
did
you're
well,
on top
and
of
it was just a great vibe, and the variety of the vendors was fucking fantastic.
But,
there literally just was like the oddest, weirdest, most curious shit there.
Yeah, and apparently it's like there was a line out the door for this thing.
Oh yeah,
for
no, there was like a
4
3-hour line at
hours.
some point.
I mean, it wasn't just a temporary thing. We didn't show up. I think it went till 7. We showed up at 5. I just figured, like, all right, the crowd will be died.
Yeah.
It was still busy around then. That's the crazy thing. So
a lot of people like really sold out, and it was great to see because Orlando needed something like this.
Yeah. Who does the
provided.
cake? Who did the cakes?
That was Berso's Bakery.
They sold out of everything and just left after around 5 o'clock. I think they just well, we have nothing left.
Yeah. Well, Jen Belak was saying that she had to pull stuff out of her back inventory because she had nothing else.
Yeah.
And that's good shit to hear. It's good to see that the weirdos come together to support the weird community.
Yes. So.
And this is the last thing. I mean, instead of I don't know if we're actually playing a game tonight or not.
No games tonight.
Okay. Well, this is something I've wanted to discuss for a while, and it's just been tough to get everyone together. June was Pride Month. And this was a conversation I had on one of my TikTok lives when I was doing makeup and stuff. But queer horror. Now, I know there's the documentaries about queer horror, but very often when you ask people, okay, well, what's a gay horror movie? They usually talk about things like, then you get like True Blood, where it's like the queerness is a source of entertainment or kind of like a poking sort of thing. Or, Camilla, the lesbian vampires, stuff like that. And it's like when you actually think about it and sit and think, okay, what horror movies have like queer allegories or queer characters that aren't a way for, they aren't like, for example, Sleepaway Camp, Angela from Sleepaway Camp. Forced trans, yes, but they made that part of, that made her homicidal, in a negative way. I was curious about queer horror films in a more positive way. And it was tough because there really actually aren't a lot. A lot of things people talked about, it's like, okay, there might have been a gay character, but it was usually a token gay character or shown in a negative light. But so let's, and I'm curious in the chat as well, in your opinion, what is your favorite LGBTQ horror movie? So Rob, what would you put on that list?
That's kind of the thing that, you always have to take a step back and go, let me think about this, because as you said, so much that kind of gets that tag. It's not really in a positive way. We talked about this on the last show we did it. Psycho gets mentioned as queer horror because he dresses as his mother because he thinks he's his mother. Well, that's not queer.
No.
That's just a confused boy. And
again, that's painting that in a negative light, and that makes him part of the villain because now that's mental illness, and even with, you talk about Silence of the Lambs, you talk about Buffalo Bill. Well, yeah, sure, transgender maybe, but he's homicidal and psychotic. So that's not really portraying it in the best light. Yeah. So it's a matter of thinking at it from that standpoint.
So, I mean, it's one of those you can go either way, but Rocky Horror, I mean, it's, maybe not the most horror movie, but let's face it, that's a, yeah. I'm not sure how to say if positive is the right word, but I've heard people talk about seeing this movie for the first time in the 70s. And it's like, hey, Frankenfurter goes from Janet's bed to Brad's bed. And it doesn't get kicked out either time.
Yeah.
And and hell, you have Frankenfurter's, just his look the entire time. And even in the 70s, that was cutting edge. I mean,
that was groundbreaking.
But the guy who was writing about it talked about, but the audience was still cool with it. There was no ew, as you might get.
Yeah, because here's the thing: with a lot of classic horror films, I've heard like Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, that there are queer overtones there. And while there might have been, and Rob can correct me, I don't remember, there was a code that was used in a lot of these older films. I really think Rocky was probably the first one to be overt about it and just.
Well, the Hays Code was well done at that point. It was pretty much ignored after the early 60s, I think. But yeah, I mean, here's what I will tell you. It's like if you go back and look at pre Hays Code era movies, which you're only getting about 5 years worth of talkies at that point.
Talkies. I love that word, talkies.
There was a hell of a lot more going on in those movies. Not a lot of horror at that time, though. I mean, there definitely was some. I'm not going to pretend to know them real well, but there was always little hints. I mean, it's not a horror movie, but in the Maltese Falcon, there's a great scene where one of the characters, he's fondling and stroking his cane. And it's got nothing. It's like he's just getting excited, but this was whatever code they used for saying yes, this is a gay character. Mm-hmm. There's lots of stuff like that. Yeah, I was gonna say Clayton just brought up James Whale sneaking in Dr. Pretorius into Bride, and there's I mean he wasn't quite that
sure,
much, but he was pretty darn close. And
yeah, but this is the sort of thing, I mean, personally, I love intellectual horror discussions, and just this is a conversation I love having. I mean, Matt, just
James Whale was openly gay, I believe.
Yes.
He was openly gay. So at the time, so yeah, he put little bits here and there into his movies to get people to go, oh yeah, I dig it.
That is another thing, though. It's like, okay, I personally am not a fan of, the director's gay, so that makes all his movies gay. No. Him being gay has nothing to do with his work. His work is separate from the artist. So that to me cuts off about like 50% of the stuff right there.
It's
kind of hard to argue that because Joel Schumacher did a really gay job with the last Batman movie.
Here's where you can argue
the
other side of that coin, though. And again, I hate to not use a horror example for this, but X-Men. Bryan Singer made the first X-Men movie about fear of gay people.
Oh yeah, okay. All
right. He completely everything about
realistically, I mean, that's what X-Men, really were.
No, of course, X-Men was, all about civil rights when it was first written.
Mm-hmm.
He gated up just a little bit more, not a lot, but it's not a coincidence that there's a gay director that took on X-Men, and it's there. If you really want, I'll sit down and watch and I'll point out and just go gay.
That's what you do on Twitch right there. There's your next Twitch stream. So Matt, I'm curious. I mean, what movies are on that list for you?
I would either say, just because I'm a huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan, so obviously Part 2. But it's still a great movie. That's
pretty much the standard, yeah.
And I've met Mark Patton before, and he's a great guy too. And he's awesome. I mean, he's been through some shit lately, unfortunately. But and then Interview with a Vampire, I have always fucking loved that movie. And I read the books as well, so going into it, I kind of knew what was going on. But a lot of people don't. They were just like, oh, it's the sexy man, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, blah blah blah. It was a lot more than that.
No, there's definitely a lot more in that. And with
and you're going to see it in the TV series. So
the TV series, it's just out.
Yeah.
But I mean, my argument there is, yes, it's queer technically because it covers everything. But Anne Rice, this was an interview with her forever ago, but it was like, she had argued that when vampires, die, when they're born, whatever, they transcend gender because they're genderless at that point.
Well, that's all fine and good, and I get that, but to the layperson, this is what
exactly. To the layperson, it's something else, and like I said, that's my only little snobby thing. But absolutely, and I do think most vampire films, let's face it. I mean, I've heard everyone talking about like the Lost Boys and there are homoerotic stuff in the Lost Boys, and we
Right.
have hunger.
And if you watch what was it, Lucifer, the TV show, there's a lot of stuff in there too, because Lucifer goes for whoever he wants to. There's no limits.
There's no gender there.
Yeah.
Okay. But stuff. And even and again, it's like there's Seed of Chucky, for example, which I get because you have a character like, was it Glenn? I think it was Glenn.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that, but I think top one in my opinion has got to be Nightbreed, and not because of Clive Barker sexuality either, but just the allegory of Midian and being outcast and the parallels and the land of the monsters and all that. But
I will throw out one more modern version, and again, it goes back to the showrunner more than, but it's in most of the seasons. I think at least half, especially the later ones. American Horror Story.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Sure. 300 million%.
Yeah.
Especially, it was always there, but
especially the last season.
Seasons.
The last season, yeah, the bad guy is AIDS.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Bad
Sorry
guy
about
is
that, folks. I've made that joke before, but I'll make it again next time I bring it up too.
Yeah. May is on there for me because, the relationship between her and Anna Faris, and that was absolutely beautiful.
And Jennifer's body is very much so. If you haven't seen that, it's clearly, and I'm blanking. Megan Fox, who is the bad demon, but her friend Amanda Seyfried, she's clearly in love with her, and that's it's there as well.
Yeah, High Tension is another one, but High Tension, I actually on the rewatch I was like, okay, you know what? No, the fact that she's in love with the other one again makes her homicidal, so that kind of exempts it from the list.
Speaking of Nightbreed, has anyone heard anything about the TV series? Because they supposedly are going to do a TV version of Nightbreed, which I think would be excellent.
Yeah,
I'm very. I will look into that.
Yeah, because that's much like Interview. How Interview really got fleshed out and just became so much more rich through the TV series. I can see the same thing happening with Nightbreed.
The Cabal cut. Yeah, if you watch the Cabal cut of Nightbreed, there's so much more going on than what Cronenberg did. Cronenberg just took the highlights and the cliff notes and put that into a movie. No, there's a lot more going on. And actually, and even Fright Night. Fright Night was probably, talk about the predecessor to Interview with the Vampire with, two gay vampires. Jerry Dandridge and his little manservant zombie. That definitely was something. And then the other one I would bring up would be like Let the Right One In. And actually, it was funny because Rob didn't realize in Let the Right One In, and yes, this is spoilers, Elle in that movie was not a girl.
And you're talking about the original.
The original, yeah, the Swedish one.
The Swedish one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And
you watch the TV show yet?
Nope. And I won't.
Yeah, I know you won't. I got to watch it then. So I'll have to do the reviews on that one.
Yeah. All right. But I think that pretty much covers, unless you guys are, in the chat, unless there's one you want to, bring up. But I see Nightbreed was brought up. Abso-fucking-lutely. Yeah. So, but yeah, I know we ran long on this episode, but Suzanne was...
No, actually we didn't. We crashed through the last quarter, hour and a half. We did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We rock.
That works. Absolutely.
Right,
I'm just looking at my list here because there's other. It's just so difficult. It's like there's, as far as queer horror, you'd think there would be a lot more out there. There's not yet, especially with today's culture and today's climate. There's really not a lot. Yeah. But anyway.
Really?
So that's it. So no game or nothing.
I didn't even prepare one. I thought we might go a little long just in case, and we went a lot long, but we made it up. So go us.
Well, and Bubo wishes you a wonderful evening.
And so does George.
And so does George.
Even though I lost his nose, it's on the floor somewhere.
Yeah, and thank you, Matt, for that exclusive because that's fucking amazing. Absolutely.
All right, folks.
We got a lot more special guests coming soon.
Be safe. Yeah, be safe on the 4th of July. Okay. Be safe.
Don't shoot fireworks because dogs hate them.
Yeah.
So don't do it at all. Just fuck you. Just don't do it.
Yeah, because it also fucks with war vets and yeah.
Also, make sure you are following the Facebook page. You are following the YouTube page. Have your activation or your notifications for us live, because we are starting to do some pop-up shows. I did one a couple days ago, just covering some recently announced horror video games. We did one a few weeks back as well. I don't even remember what for anymore, but it was there. It was wonderful. So just, again, make sure you're following us. And
Yeah.
on
That's
that
it.
note,